The Federal and Francis Xavier Engineering College jointly presents the Nellai Marathon 2024. This event is powered by Little Flower Public School and NIMS Hospital, Tirunelveli. Run for Health on Sunday, December 29. Entry is free and all are welcome.
Hello and a warm welcome to Federal special program Capital Beat. In Parliament, there is a paralysis over Gautam Adani versus George Soros Rao. And why I'm saying this is that today BJP intensified its attack on the Congress leadership, demanding Sonia Gandhi disclose her role in a Soros Foundation funded organization. And JP Nadda has called for a discussion in the Rajya Sabha on this particular issue, asserting it is a matter of internal and external security. Now, Congress has dismissed all these allegations and has accused the BJP of putting at stake India's ties with another country to divert attention from the charges against Gautam Adani and continued its protest for a JPC probe against the business tycoon. Now, where is this entire paralysis which we see on Gautam Adani versus George Soros? Where is it actually heading to? And does it mean that we are not going to get any answers on Gautam Adani? Whereas now the entire focus has come on the George Soros funded organization, and they're accusing, as BJP is accusing, that entire matter is now related to the external and internal security. So we'll straight head into the discussion. Joining me now is TK Rajlakshmi, Senior Deputy Editor from the Frontline. Thank you so much, Rajlakshmi, for joining. We have Girish Joshi, veteran journalist and political commentator. Thank you so much for joining. And we have Pushpraj Deshpande, who's the author of the book called Bharat Jodo Yatra, and he also works closely with the India Alliance. I'll begin with Rajlakshmi. Rajlakshmi, how do you really see this entire issue panning in Parliament? And today, JP Nadda actually stood up from his seat and he actually said, and he was telling Mr. Kharge to, the Congress should disclose the ties between George Soros and Sonia Gandhi. And today on the Parliament premises as well, we saw Giriraj Singh holding, posters of Sonia Gandhi and George Soros. And so these are the kind of optics which are being played out. Where is this row actually heading to?
I mean, seriously, it's really ridiculous that the ruling party and the government should use this this entirely sort of hypothetical, let's say, connection between George Soros as well as the principal opposition party, and to raise it in Parliament. Just on the basis of some speculation. I mean, there isn't any evidence or any papers that have been placed in Parliament or have come out in the public domain in that sense to prove that a certain nexus exists, and or that nexus has harmed the country's interests. For instance, there are several countries, or there are several organizations that fund several people, but but ultimately the impact of their nexus of funding should be gauged in terms of the effect that it has on, say, let's say, the nation, or whether it has some certain great public significance, or for that matter endangering national security, which has been imputed in this case. This is completely kite flying, and I'm really shocked that the chair should even indulge a discussion on these lines, or even sort of permit a member to make such high-handed accusations without having a shred of evidence, and b, without even trying to prove that this has an impact has impact nationally in any manner, whether it's national security, whether it's whether the financial integrity of the nation. On the other hand, we have a US court which has indicted a certain industrialist of our country, which has there are certain bribery allegations involving people from our country, and certain contracts, and for which a US court, in fact, nothing short than a US court, has indicted this particular businessman. Now it is here that the country's financial integrity stands compromised. It is here that the country's reputation stands compromised, and it is here that a discussion should be allowed, and that a probe should be instituted. It is not. It is not necessary. I mean, for instance, there's nothing hypothetical here. I mean, it has. It has happened, and there is concrete evidence also, which has been placed on record. Yes, in a U.S. court. Yes, that an Indian businessman has been found indulging, or or there are allegations to that effect. Now for that matter, why shouldn't it be probed? Why is the ruling government so reluctant to order a probe? Or in fact, why is it so reluctant to even have a discussion on it? I mean, it's not that a discussion would lead to anything. I mean, why is it so reluctant? Let it say tomorrow, yes, let there be a transparent inquiry, let the truth come out. Why is it so reluctant? Because all and the its sort of hesitancy, plus the counter attack in trying to establish a counter connection between I mean, another industrialist and the opposition party here. I mean, it shows that clearly it's trying to divert attention from more serious issues at hand. I mean, in another 2 days, there's going to be a discussion on the constitution. I mean, is it also an attempt to derail that discussion on the constitution? I mean, I mean, this really defeats the purpose of of having any kind of a parliament
Right.
session. In the first place, when the ruling party, on whose shoulders rests the principal responsibility of conducting and running parliament, uh, uh, you know, does not does not take that responsibility
Right.
seriously enough. Yeah.
Okay, I'll come to Pushparaj now. That Pushparaj, you remember Pawan Khera had put out a tweet saying that Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council member Shamika Ravi has clarified. She is the one who got the funding from the Soros Foundation 18 years back when she was part of that Indian Business School. Now, Shamika Ravi yesterday came out and gave a clarification that no, she didn't. She wasn't funded. Her organization was funded, and no faculty member got the funding directly. Now, how does this clarification now really impact this whole narrative on George Soros? That is Congress going ahead really and coming out with more names of the people who are associated with BJP and who are being funded by George Soros? Are we going to see that in the coming days? How does it pan out now from here on?
Niluji, a very good evening to you, our fellow panelists, and our viewers. See, with regard to the Soros issue, firstly, the BJP government controls the RAW, the ED, the CBI, the IT department, and other agencies. If there is any iota of proof, even one shred of proof, that links George Soros, the OSF, the Open Society Foundation, and the India's opposition, then let them file a case and pursue it legally. Why is the BJP posturing in the media, right? Secondly, let's dissect the BJP's key arguments. Does a chance meeting with OSF personnel in the Bharat Jodo Yatra, when lakhs of people were actually coming to meet Rahul Gandhi, or being on the board of an NGO that worked with a completely different NGO that received grant for a small project funded by OSF, denote any kind of correlation? It doesn't. By that logic, as you rightly pointed out, a member of the PM's Economic Advisory Council was part of an organization that received funds from George Soros's OSF. Is she a Soros agent? Similarly, the son-in-law of Viren Shah, the BJP's former treasurer, runs Capital of Float, which is now known as Axio, a fund that is exclusively funded almost by George Soros. Is the BJP's treasurer a Soros agent? Does the BJP, as a party, receive funds from the Soros Foundation OSF? And if you extend this argument further, denoting coincidence with correlation, does PM Modi sharing the stage with multiple forums with President Xi, does that prove that the Prime Minister is complicit in China capturing India's land? Or similarly, Prime Minister Modi shared the stage with Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi, Mehul Chokshi. Shall we also claim that the PM is complicit in their scams and running into thousands of crores? This is absurd logic. And even more fundamentally, the BJP is arguing that George Soros is interested in destabilizing India along with the deep state. It's not just saying that OSF or George Soros, they're also saying that deep states of the United States is also complicit in destabilizing India. Now, firstly, this is something that is very dangerous to claim, because you are making an assertion at a government, at an allied government, which is standing with you while China is capturing your territory. We are, of course, the democratic counter to China. That's what the West claims. Here you are accusing the US, and mind you, you've also accused Canada, you've also accused Germany and Bangladesh and other nations of actively interfering in India's domestic politics. Is there any proof to this? If there is no proof and you are just making baseless allegations to pander to your domestic crowd, you are actually jeopardizing our relationships with progressive nations simply to further your politics. And the point is that you need to understand, this is what Pranab Mukherjee used to say, former President Pranab Mukherjee: relationships are between nations, not between leaders. Prime Minister Modi cannot jeopardize India's national interests and geopolitical and foreign interests simply to score brownie points against on baseless allegations against Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, and the opposition. This is actually, the BJP is actually compromising India's national interest.
Oh, but did you hear Mr. Nadda, Pushpraj, did you hear Mr. Nadda saying that this is an internal and there should be a discussion on this particular issue, that Sonia Gandhi has links with the George Soros Foundation, and this is a threat to the security, the internal and external security of the country? What does one say to that?
So again, let me reiterate what I was saying. Firstly, if there is any proof, please file a case and investigate in the court of law. There is no proof, which is why they are posturing in the media. Secondly, the fact of the matter is that George Soros runs a small $1 billion fund. Do you really think that he can destabilize a nearly $4 trillion economy with projects across the world? It's not feasible. And I don't think, I've read the OSF charter. I don't think they are really interested in destabilizing any nation. What they do talk about is human rights. What they do talk about is freedoms, press freedoms. What do they defend is progressive values, secularism, liberalism. Are these values destabilizing the Indian government? No. These are all values that are enshrined in our constitution. Unless it destabilizes the BJP for any people to talk about anything that is uncomfortable to them. You remember that whenever the hunger index came out, whenever the press freedom index came out, whenever any kind of the democratic backsliding index came out, in each of these cases, the BJP jumped up and said, oh, some foreign government, some foreign department or think tank is talking about these issues. That means there is foreign interference. This is not how the world works. You can't be living like frogs in a well. Seriously, this is how the BJP is conducting itself and India's foreign policy and geopolitics. And for the United States State Department to come out and publicly say, as did Mediapart, that BJP is basically making up stories, you're effectively calling Prime Minister Modi a global fakeo. How big an embarrassment of this can our government face?
Yeah. So, Girish, what would you really say now? Does BJP stand exposed, or we say that Congress has no convincing answers on this? How would you really read the situation as far as this paralysis on Adani versus Soros is concerned? There's a constant pandemonium in the House. Since the time the Parliament has started, and the day opposition started asking answers on the US indictment of Gautam Adani, suddenly George Soros is the topic of the discussion amongst the ruling party, whether it is Nishikant Dubey, whether it is Sambit Patra, or for that matter, even JP Nadda in Rajya Sabha. Yeah, I think Pushpraj wants to make a point. Yes, Pushpraj?
No, after Girish ji, please.
All right. I thought you were raising your hand. Okay, yes, Girish. Go ahead, please.
It's very good that, both the guys who have talked. Indian Express report also was the first investigative report which came out, in which they mentioned that the first entry of Soros was in 1999 during the regime of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Right. Then secondly, if you see, he suddenly comes in 2014, and the two companies, the Axio that Pushparaj mentioned, they were actually funded 5,000 crores by Soros to develop small clusters of industrial and generate employment. What these guys do? They started funding the funders. Amazon, they brought a system of buy now and pay later. So they made a smart move. Actually, what was the purpose of funding? And now this is coming out because it's a famous saying that if you cannot convince, confuse. They don't want the opposition to bring out this matter because everybody is now in open. What is going to happen if they start discussing? Even today, they have not reiterated from what they were not supposed to do. Today, again, you see when suddenly a message comes that he has withdrawn his demand for letter of intent in that Sri Lanka port, you get a message that some Japanese company has said that we don't mind investing because the portfolio of the company is very strong. So again, the share which fell, so their whole concentration is on the share market, how to keep Adani afloat. So they are playing game on all the side. It is not only now Adani is there in the picture, even Maharashtra elections. The reports of what have come for that, suddenly they have refused that everything is good in VVPAT. So if they allow them to talk, but then where is the opening now? Once that the bill has been, they have submitted the report for no confidence, everybody will be allowed to talk. Where is the escape now? They will have to answer. And in fact, they would have allowed Adani, that would have subsided within a day or two. Now this is going to open a Pandora's box and every matter will come on the platform. And everything will go on record. In that system, they will not be able to expunge anything. So
absolutely. In fact,
it is a difficult time.
yeah. Rajalakshmi,
It is a difficult time for them.
Yeah, indeed. Rajalakshmi, now I think tomorrow onwards, the two-day discussion in Lok Sabha on the constitution will start, and the next week in Rajya Sabha. BJP really control if there is a constant mention of Adani? Will they keep expunging it whenever all the opposition parties, and I'm sure that issue will come up because when they are discussing constitution, they will talk about monopoly of one particular business group. And how will BJP contain it tomorrow if this is the kind of genie which they have unleashed? It's all Adani's answer is, I mean, all the questions on Adani, the answer only is George Soros for the government.
Yes, Neelu, I also have sort of similar apprehensions because going by the government stance, I mean, ideally today was a day when it should have sort of assured the opposition that it is serious about the discussions in the days ahead, because there's not no too many days left for the session to end. Essentially, it's just a week, just a week's time. I mean, and the rate at which Parliament has been getting has been getting adjourned. In fact, both houses, doesn't seem to me that any semblance of a serious discussion uh, is going to take place, on the constitution, because again, these issues are, unaddressed, because rather than addressing an issue at hand, which was the indictment of Adani, which, I mean, it could have been easily said that the government could have easily assured the opposition of an inquiry. It would have said that yes, it could sort of, look into the into the setting up, of a JPC, or that it could have just had a discussion, without maybe committing itself to a JPC. I mean, but I'm saying that all these options perhaps are there with the government, but it chose, not to. It chose not to. I mean, that itself raises the hackles of suspicion. For instance, why is the government so keen so as to prevent a discussion on this issue? And I'm sure it's not only the opposition which is talking about it, but I'm sure people who watch Parliament, who also follow news, lay readers, the citizens of this country, they would be asking this question. It's not that the opposition has made this an agenda, or has made this an agenda for discussion. It is now going to be discussed as to why is the government gone on a limb not to have a discussion on this issue, because it completely defies all, logic. And instead of that, it has gone on a counter offensive. Now that counter offensive, people also say, where's the evidence? You can't just link a particular, industrialist with the opposition party without a shred of evidence. I mean, if that, I mean, again, I mean, there are follow-up questions, as I said. If that funding has led to destabilizing the country and the economy, you can say everything one can. The ruling party especially finds itself free to say everything under the sun, in Parliament. It can get its most aggressive leaders to make personal insinuations, to call the opposition leaders traitors, to use such kind of terms. I don't think the opposition members have ever used any kind of irresponsible language, against the treasury benches. So I think, given the trajectory over the last few days, I see, in fact, very little hope in Parliament transacting any serious discussion on the Constitution, because ultimately the ruling party stands accused of of whittling down several constitutional bodies, and that I mean, if that sort of comes up in the course of the discussion, is a different issue. But then it's a great occasion to discuss 75, I mean, the anniversary of the constitution, as it were, and to talk about a range of things seriously. But as I said, given the trajectory of what has happened till now, till afternoon, I mean, both houses have been adjourned, and one doesn't know, because one doesn't expect the ruling party to change over into a new leaf, to turn into a new leaf tomorrow. Neither will the opposition sort of back down, because they still feel that there are some unresolved issues here, that needed to be sorted out. I mean, if the government can show some magnanimity and some perspicacity, it should ideally sort of make a statement on the floor of the house about what it intends to do about the issues raised by the opposition, and then the discussion of the constitution should be held. But if
Right.
but if the first part is not resolved, I really doubt if the second part is going to take off. If it does by any miracle, by some miracle, I mean, then of course, I can always take my words back.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Pushpraj, what does this mean now that whenever you will start asking questions on important issues from the government, does it mean that BJP will try and bring up this George Soros issue? Any criticism of the government and George Soros is on the forefront. So tomorrow, I'm just wondering, when the discussion of the constitution takes place, are the India Alliance parties going to raise these issues that, please, if you have a problem with George Soros, extradite him? Similar questions which Supriya Shrinate day before yesterday had asked in a press conference. So please extradite, arrest George Soros if that is a big problem. So are these questions really going to come up tomorrow?
Niluji, see, whatever you have said, this is part of parliamentary floor strategy. So I am not sure if I'm the best person, or I'm at liberty to discuss what they will raise, the opposition, the India parties, on the floor of the House. All I can tell you clearly is that there are multiple glaring issues of concern to India. On the obvious level, there is the issue of the executive avoiding accountability and the two chairpersons facilitating that evasion rather than encouraging accountability or transparency. One business house does not denote India. India is not one business house, nor is Adani India. So the fact of the matter is, if there is something that has adversely impacted India's image on the global stage, which is what the indictment suggests, in the US indictment suggests. Similarly, if there is evidence of corruption, similarly, if there is evidence of this company compromising our foreign policy interests in Kenya, in Australia, in Bangladesh, in the US, then there are things that you need to be discussing. I'm not saying that we are against any business, nor are we against corporate houses in general. But if there are public allegations being made by responsible governments and responsible agencies, it is our duty to discuss that in Parliament. And the problem is that the BJP keeps evading accountability. This has become a pattern. And what they have done, for the BJP, the Parliament is no longer India's apex legislative body. It has methodically undermined the legislative and representative nature of opposition MPs. Every time the BJP says that we know best, or because of past government mistakes or policy mistakes, opposition MPs shouldn't critique the current government, or since you have lost elections, you don't get any voice in policy making. Now, obviously, this is unconstitutional and it is stunting the legislator's core function. But consequently, what the BJP has done, it has morphed Parliament into a forum for grandstanding on matters of public importance. And because the executive doesn't, the BJP government doesn't allow any substantive debates, disruptions are the only method for for raising any substantive issue. Consider this: since 2014, the BJP has gone to great lengths to evade debate on every substantive issue. 76% of the bills passed between 2014 and 2024 were passed without any legislative scrutiny, either in the House or in standing committees. Nearly 200 MPs were suspended at various points of time. Opposition MPs are censored from Sansad TV. You know this. Their mics are switched off. Their interventions are expunged from the official records. And the chairperson and the speaker attack the opposition. Now, see, what we're trying to say is, for the BJP government and the pliant chairs of the House, there is one law for the government and another for the legislature. The political compact between the executive and the legislature has collapsed. And the larger onus for this lies on the Prime Minister and the government. So what I'm trying to tell you is this. It is our duty as the opposition, who represents 40% of India's population electorate, to raise, and mind you, it's just 0.2% less than what the BJP represents. It is our constitutional and legal duty to raise matters of public importance, and it is the government's constitutional duty, mandate, to answer those questions. You cannot evade every difficult question by randomly propping up allegations without any fact. That is what the problem is. The government is basically just creating another series of jumlas to distract us from the core issue here. And how long is this going to continue? And how long should India's national interests suffer?
Absolutely. Okay, so Girish, what would you really say towards the end? Tomorrow, there's going to be a discussion in Parliament on the Constitution, and here, one day before, we've had a big pandemonium on George Soros versus Gautam Adani, and this has been playing out for quite some time. But what we saw today was almost like a threshold, and just a day before the discussion on Constitution takes place. So, how do you think that is it? Do you see any kind of mellowing down on the part of the ruling party? I'm talking about BJP or NDA. Can we see some kind of a mellowing tomorrow on their part?
So, Nilu, first thing is, I really don't understand the approach of India Gathbandhan also. A simple single man in Karnataka, Rahul Gandhi, just said that why all the Modis are chore. And their ruling state, Gujarat, somebody from the blue comes and files a case against defamation, and then rest everybody knows how far had they gone. Sandeep Patra, not in Parliament, but even when outside, when he speaks, he is immune if he is speaking in Parliament. He says that Gaddar hai LOP. There is not a single man with you to file a case against him. At least that will be a point of discussion in Parliament also. He has said, and leader of opposition, he has very strongly said that he is Gaddar hai. There is no person. Then if you cannot fight with the same weapons that they have, it's a sorry state. Just sitting coming on the blogs and giving an interview and meeting a press conference, that is not going to help you. You have suffered a lot by doing this. Where are your people on the ground? You have got states where you can at least officially file a complaint against that man. If Karnataka speech and it can be filed in Gujarat, you don't have one person to say that we are objecting. How can they name Sonia Gandhi? How they can say our leader that they are Gaddar? It's a criminal offense, literally criminal offense. So I don't understand whether really opposition is interested to take a grip or they have really surrendered before the BJP atrocities.
Yeah, I think Pushpraj wants to make a point and then we'll end the program. Yes, Pushpraj.
No. So as per the parliamentary rules, anything that is said on the floor of the House comes under the Speaker's jurisdiction. And two privilege motions have been filed. In this thing, Haibi Eden has filed a privilege motion. Until that is admitted and it is heard, there is nothing that we can do outside. So we are pursuing the current protocols, following the current rules and norms that are at play, that are applicable to us, and pursuing this. The matter is that until and unless the government allows a discussion for which the Speaker and the chairperson have to conduct themselves in a non-partisan manner, until and unless that happens, we cannot have any debate on this issue. The problem is that they've rigged the rules of the game. That is the problem. If you make the entire House dysfunctional, then what? Then we are looking at something very, very unprecedented. And I don't think that this is a topic that we should be discussing lightly, because if Parliament has become dysfunctional and the government is part of that dysfunctionality, is encouraging that dysfunctionality, and you have to then look at something like a mass satyagraha, that is something that requires consensus across the India party. That cannot be lightly taken, certainly not in a TV debate.
All right. But it's going to be interesting days like tomorrow. Yeah.
Just a moment. That Sandeep Patra has spoken on a public platform. He spoke on a press conference. And something happening in Bangladesh, their people just go and give it in a small district, collector a memorandum. What are you doing? There are no Congress people who can go to collector and give a letter that this is wrong. He should, they should come into action. Parliament, I understand, they cannot file. Let that go by the. And which parliament are you talking of procedures? When the other party is not understanding anything about constitution, you will have to speak in the same language. We sticking to the constitution rights and constitution. This is now it's an old game. You will have to play the same game that the rules that they have set. If they cannot follow any rule of the constitution, why are you following? You start shouting. It's shameful that man like Sudhanshu can tell Sanjay Singh कि हम टेबल पे खड़े होकर जो बोलते हैं उनसे हम डिस्कशन नहीं करते. They don't have right to speak all this. Do they really maintain the decorum of the parliament? If they don't, then why are you ashamed of doing that? That is what I want to say.
All right, so we'll have to wait and watch how things unfold tomorrow and day after when the discussion on the constitution begins. But for now, it's like a complete paralysis over this George Soros and Gautam Adani. Thank you so much. I'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Pushparaj, Raj, Lakshmi, Girish. Thank you so much for joining. And one appeal to the viewers who are following this discussion, subscribe to our channel, send us a feedback, and stay tuned to the Federal.
The Federal and Francis Xavier Engineering College jointly presents the Nellai Marathon 2024. This event is powered by Little Flower Public School and NIMS Hospital, Tirunelveli. Run for Health on Sunday, December 29. Entry is free and all are welcome.